Hello guys, I'm John, I'm the geeky fanboy, and welcome back to Mr. Robot, Season 4. We're at Episode 9, and whew, it's quite an exciting time in the story of Mr. Robot with this week's episode. So, as always, first couple of minutes spoiler-free in case you haven't seen the episode yet, but I'll give you a spoiler warning before I jump into details, so let's go. Oh, this is a fantastic episode. Just like right out of the gate, this is a fantastic episode. People are gonna have a lot of fun watching this, I think. It's a very thrilling episode. It's exciting. It's also very satisfying. It's like Mr. Robot at its best, I think. It's this mixture of serious stuff, but also the cyber stuff. You also have some emotional moments here and there, good character moments. This is just a very, very fun episode to watch, especially also story-wise. Like, a lot of things happen here, and we check in with all the major characters and all the major story points that we're dealing with. So it's all about the Deus Group and the hacking that we've been waiting for so long. So you will see what happens there. And I think people will not be disappointed by what happens in this episode. You have happy moments, you have exciting moments, you have moments of fear, of anger, and I just had so much fun watching this. As always, the acting is brilliant. This time especially BD Wong, like. The way he plays White Rose is just so good, and even though I hate White Rose because she's obviously the villain, but you know, I like watching her on screen, her as a character, and yeah, especially in this week's episode, I had a lot of fun watching White Rose, and I also like that we get some interactions again between Darlene and Elliot, so you got that to look forward to. There's some nice character moments there, and I just have to say that the episode very well manages to keep up this feeling of thrill and excitement, keeping you on the edge of your seat, making you want to pay attention, but also giving you those moments of, oh yes, that worked, or oh no, what are they gonna do now? So there's a good handling of like your emotions on every level. Alongside with the editing, the cinematography, and the music again, just everything works so well together in this episode. They're also, especially in the first couple of minutes, they're addressing some things that have been floating around ever since the early episodes of this season, especially regarding Elliot's psyche. So we get not really answers, but you know, there's a little dive into that, so I like that they kind of tease that again. And yeah, this was just a very, very fun episode, and you won't be disappointed by it, I think. So yeah, that's already it for the spoiler-free part. I can't really say that much more, just go watch it, it's very exciting. So I'm gonna jump into details for the episode now, so if you haven't seen it yet, turn the video off now. Okay, this episode is just, oh my god, so much fun. I was cheering and laughing by the end of this episode because this was simply so satisfying to watch. Everything about this was exciting and thrilling and making me angry, happy, nervous, just everything. And like I mentioned earlier, this is Mr. Robot at its best when it can handle all of those things, and this was just so much fun to watch. But let's get into some details. Okay, let's talk about that opening scene. We're in Elliot's head. We're back in the conference room. I like the opening shot with Mr. Robot coming in through the door. We see him, then as he walks down the corridor, it becomes dark. We only see a silhouette with a cut, and then he walks into the conference room that we have seen at the end of episode 2, I think, of this season. The whole thing, the other one, was teased, which is still not answering, but they're kind of teasing it again in this episode. So we have Mr. Robot meeting Kid Elliot and Elliot's mom in the conference room. So, and they're discussing what's to be done. Like, I think they're talking about when should we bring in this new personality, like what happened, and whether or not they should tell him or Elliot. Like, it's a bit confusing if they're talking about Elliot or the other personality, probably the other personality, I'd say. And again, that's just because they seem to be in the know about this other personality, and they're talking about him like they know, but they're not giving us exposition, which I think is good because that would be too easy. But yeah, there is just this tease again of this personality. Also, as Mr. Robot mentions, that the other personality talked to Darlene a couple of weeks ago. Like, they know that other personality is there, he is there, and they know how to get him out, and apparently they do want him to come out again. And I just want to know how they will handle this, how maybe the personalities, because I'm not sure if like Kid Elliot is another personality and his mother might be one as well, but even if not, they're at least in his head, so they are part of his psyche. So they seem to be sort of handling this, how and when Elliot switches and what happens up here. So they seem to be sort of in charge of that and deciding when to tell Elliot about it, or when the other personality might come in or not. So they seem to be sort of searching for him as well. Like, they are aware he's there, but he seems to be a personality that doesn't come out a lot or not all the time. And so I'm guessing that especially Mr. Robot now will try to maybe handle the personality thing, that maybe he wants to know more about this third personality, or I don't know how many personalities there actually are, but you know, this other one. So they're teasing that this is going to come up again, and given the fact that there are still a couple more episodes to go, I'm sure this will be the thing that's gonna become the primary focus now, I think. If they're not doing anything more with the Deus Group or the Dark Army, but I think like the primary focus now is going to be like the other one and stuff about Elliot's psyche and his past. And this whole meeting in this first thing was so interesting. There's so much you could talk about there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they will address this like new personality and how we will find out about him. I like that for the first part of the episode, it's mostly Mr. Robot talking to us again, like when he comes in and we have the narrative again, like him talking to the audience. I kind of miss that, but I prefer when Elliot does it, but I like that Mr. Robot is still doing it. And I also like his interaction with Darlene in the beginning, how Darlene now kind of knows when she's talking to Mr. Robot or when she's talking to Elliot. So I like that when she calls him out and is like, I want to talk to Elliot, but she can't because, you know, a boy has stuff to deal with, which is very much understandable. In general, I find this whole Darlene, Mr. Robot, Elliot dynamic very interesting, especially in this episode again. Not only like Darlene now recognizing when she's talking to Elliot, when she's talking to Mr. Robot, but also how Mr. Robot and Elliot decide what to tell her and when. So I like this whole conversation when Darlene knows something is up, something's wrong, and she wants to be told what's up. But Mr. Robot knows that he can't be the one to tell her, and like he also shouldn't be the one, I think. So it's going to be interesting when Elliot actually at some point decides to talk about what he now knows. Well, I already mentioned in a previous episode. It's going to be interesting to see if Darlene, how much she knows, like how much she was aware of about the abuse that he got from not only his mother but especially from his father. If she was aware of that at all, if she knew about that, how she will take it. And I think that's going to be quite interesting, because now they have their they have their problem solved for now, apparently, with the whole Deus Group. So like I said, the primary focus is probably going to be now Elliot's personal issues. So I think we're not fully done yet with the whole Darlene, Elliot sibling relationship. Like, that's not gonna be stable for the rest of the season. I don't think so, because they have been relatively okay with each other for most of the season, I think. And Darlene knows that something's up. Like, she knows, and she's not gonna let that rest, I think. So we'll see if maybe next week already they will dive into that whole past thing, because I think it's not only going to come down to what did Darlene know about the abuse, it's going to come down to more, because I think Elliot's not the only one who has like some dark stuff in his past. I bet there's something about Darlene there as well, that she has got a lot of a lot of issues going on too, and then she will have some stuff to tell him about the past. So we'll see how they deal with that, how she deals with this in regards to normal Elliot, and also in regards to Mr. Robot being there, and maybe some of the other personalities. We don't know, but that it's definitely going to be one of the more interesting points, I think, to see how Elliot and Darlene will handle their past. Well, let's dive into what they're actually doing in this week's episode, namely the hack. The big hack is happening, and I like that Mr. Robot takes charge of this, like Elliot mentioned in the previous episode, that he thinks he can't go through with this, and I think I'm glad that they decided to do it anyway, so like not have this delay. But I like that they do it in a clever way. That's not Elliot doing it, it's basically Mr. Robot initiating it, taking charge, because Elliot, like Mr. Robot says Elliot can't be here right now, he wouldn't be able to do it. So like Mr. Robot takes charge and he and Darlene do this together. And this whole hack is just, wow, one big, not really mindful, but it is one big roller coaster ride, basically. Like there's a lot of stuff going on there. So like they're first observing Price, who they think will have the Deus Group meeting with White Rose. So they're observing him, but as we quickly realise, something's off. Like he comes into the building, Price comes into the building, and there's only White Rose. Like there's no one else. And we know that there should be other people. So yeah, Elliot and Darlene also become kind of suspicious after a while, and they find out that the group meeting has been relocated to somewhere else. And then they decide to do something which I think was a good decision. They split up. So Elliot decides to stay with White Rose and Price, so like in the building opposite to their meeting, and Darlene, who knows where the Deus Group is actually meeting, tries to go to that building in order to hack their phones, to get their phone numbers, to get their account numbers, so they can transfer all the money from the Cyprus Bank to, I think, Darlene's account, so that Deus Group will not have any money. But they still also need White Rose's number, as far as I understood that, so Elliot has to stay there. So they split up, which I think is a good decision. And let's talk about Elliott Price, White Rose there for a second, because there is a moment when things start to get a bit wobbly. Like we don't know, okay, can they actually do it? Can they pull it off? And Elliot decides to call Price on his phone, and I'm actually surprised that Price survived until the end of the episode, because the entire time I thought, oh no, like the champagne is poisoned, or he's gonna get shot or something's gonna happen if he answers the phone, I don't know. But yeah, that not happen, and his phone rings, and White Rose picks up, and of course it's Elliot. And they have a very interesting conversation. I like the dynamic, because you know that Elliot absolutely hates White Rose for what she's done, not only to Angela, but like in general to the world, to society. And you notice that White Rose can't really despise Elliot. Like she wants to work with him, like she likes him to a certain degree, and I just like that, because you know that there is much more to them to just being good and evil. And I like that, because that's for some interesting chemistry there while they're talking on the phone. And there is this moment when White Rose wants to convince Elliot to come work for like Dark Army, or at least stop the hack, or whatever it is he's doing, in order to get some information. And the info that White Rose decided to tease is that Angela is not dead. And I immediately thought, that's a trap, bad idea. Don't listen to her. Like, I doubted that the moment she said that, but obviously it's an emotional moment for Elliot, and I like how they decided to do that, because up to this point it's Mr. Robot. We've only seen Mr. Robot up to this point, and he's on the phone, and the second Angela gets mentioned, we have a cut, and then we see Elliot on the phone. I like that. That's a good moment for a switch, because that's obviously a very emotional point for him whenever Angela comes up. So I like that in that moment it switches back to Elliot, and he turns around and we can see him cry a bit. So like he's still obviously very emotional about his best friend dying, which is very much understandable, even though I didn't like her. But you know, it's understandable for Elliot as a character. And I honestly thought for a couple of minutes, I thought he is maybe gonna cave and give in, and you know, he's gonna have a weak moment. And you could also see Philip Price sitting there being like, maybe something's going on there. And I'm so glad nothing happened there. That I'm pretty sure that was just like a ruse. Like Angela is dead. I'm sure she's dead. We saw her dying. We saw her get shot. We saw the picture of her dead body. So yeah, would be a bit stupid if they actually really revealed that she was still alive. But I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that. That's a stupid idea. But you know, it's this typical tease that you need for this short moment of doubt where you just think, oh no, our protagonist is gonna cave, he's gonna give in. It's a good moment, I like it. It's also good for the switch, so that we have Elliot back, and it leads us into what Darlene has been doing, because the phone call ends with Elliot basically calling up White Rose, oh, maybe things are not going so well for you after all. Because what Darlene has been doing is going to the Deus Group meeting, and she needs to get into the building, but obviously it's like a very fancy pants meeting with all those rich people, and she can't just get in there. Like, there's a lot of security, there's a lot of people in general, and yeah, she can't get in there, but she needs the numbers, so she comes up with a fantastic plan that I did not see coming, and I just cheered when it happened. So what Darlene does is she goes to a costume shop, and then we have a cut to this mask, and yes, we get... I thought that was such a brilliant moment. We get another F Society video with Darlene dressing up as, you know, the Monopoly guy, and it's so cool. And I thought it was so smart. The moment I saw it, I was like, oh my god, yes! That's such a good idea! Yes! And I don't know, it just also felt quote-unquote a bit nostalgic seeing the mask again, and you know, the whole F Society video, because you know, it's been a while. And yeah, that was so cool, so clever. And she basically talks about the Deus Group meeting in order to like lure them out of the building, because she like brings attention to them so that everyone knows about the top 1% of the 1%, you know. And people start gathering around the building, and the people inside are being called out, and obviously they're getting very, very, very nervous about what's going on. And White Rose can't help them. Like, she doesn't know what's going on. She hasn't planned any of this. And yeah, that's when Elliot tells her on the phone, oh, maybe not everything's going so well. And then White Rose sees the F-Side video, and I just love the realization on her face when you for once just have this moment when White Rose knows that something is not going according to her plan, and it was fantastic to see on her face. And yeah, it works. The people inside are getting super nervous, super anxious, and they decide to get out of there. They decide to get out of there, but they can't. Like, they all have their cars and their goons down the cellar. And what Darlene did, she manipulated the garage so the cars can't get out. And so you have all the people coming outside the building, gathering in the street, but they're unable to leave because they can't get to their cars. And when they decide to go off to like the main street, there are too many people there. Like, one guy tries to leave, but there are immediately a crowd of people trying to take photographs and being like, oh no, what did you do, what did you do? But so he can't leave. And that's the opportunity for Darlene, because she stands between all like those people who have gathered outside of the building, and she has eyes on, you know, the rich people. And now that she's close to their phones, and obviously all of them start using their phones because they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And that's her opportunity to like hack into their phones, get the accounts, get their numbers, get everything, get their passwords, all they need. And this was I want to say surprisingly, because at this point it's not really surprising, but you know, it's just great how Mr. Robot manages to portray the act of hacking and what they're doing as something thrilling and exciting. Because you know, I'm not good with computers. You know, I was really bad at computer class at school, so that this show manages to make hacking and watching a screen and text and numbers that I do not really understand make them look so exciting. It's just a treat to watch, because every time like the screen was on like of Darlene's phone, or like the account names going up, numbers, and when it says registered, not registered, and you're like, okay, yeah, next one, like you're just sitting there really like with this feeling that probably Darlene and Elliot also have, like just with this anxiety, because you're like, hurry, yes, we need the accounts, we need all the numbers. So yeah, they need like 100 numbers or accounts or something, and the moment, it's a bit hard to describe, but you know, you've all seen the episode at this point. So when this finally comes up, when she stands there and she has managed to get all the accounts, and it says I don't know, access granted or something, and I cheered. I literally cheered. I sat on my desk and I was like, yes, that happened. And I never got so excited about seeing a text message on screen then in that moment, because that was just freaking amazing. The moment they managed to get White Rose's number, you just know they got it. Because that was like the big thing they had to work out. Sure, they got maybe all the numbers of people in the building, but they, of course, need White Rose because she's like the big one. And the moment they managed that, like it says 99 out of 100, and then it springs to 100, and you know they got White Rose's number, and it's just, oh my god, the relief, the happiness in that moment. I was like, yes, that means you can do it. And, like, that's it. And when you see that Darlene tries to transfer the money, and the moment it starts saying transferring from this account, transferring money from that account to that account, and you realize, oh my god, this is it. That's what we've been working toward. Well, Darlene and Elliot been working towards for such a long time, for the entire season, and then you realize it's actually happening. And you know, and then it's this moment when the one guy, because they finally managed to get the cars out, he gets in his car and he gets a message, he gets a text message on his phone, because obviously they're gonna get notified about their account being hacked or something happening to them, and he gets a code, and they immediately got it. They're so quick to work this out. They use it, and within just like 1 or 2 minutes, they got the access they need, and all the money is gone. It's just gone. Like the moment it says transfer done or whatever, I was like, oh my god, that's it. Like, I cheered out loud when this happened, because this is such a big moment. This is such a big moment, and like same with what happens to Darlene and Elliot when they realize they did it. You have the same reaction. You're just like, oh my god, like this. Oh, that's it. And that was such a wonderful feeling to have. I know it sounds a bit weird because I'm getting so excited about this, but you know, they've been building towards this for such a long time, and you know, you don't like Dog Army, you don't like the Deus Group, you don't like White Rose, and then they've finally done it. And I love watching White Rose freaking out, because you know, for once, she's not in control of what's going on. Everything is going against her, and when it happens, that's the best thing to watch ever. Like, she gets all the notifications on her phone, like, where's the money? No, that account doesn't work, account doesn't work. And that's just so wonderful, also because you're basically Philip Price in that moment, who's just, at this point, taking the piss and laughing at what's happening to White Rose, how she's freaking out. And a bit earlier you have this very intense moment between White Rose and her, assistant because, you know, she's right. She was like, I told you this would happen. I told you this was going to be dangerous, and she leaves. And this is like the first time you notice, oh, things are not going well for White Rose, and then all the accounts get hacked, all the money's gone. And it's just the best feeling ever. Like, I keep repeating myself, sorry. So yeah, they got all the money's gone. We see the rich people from the party. We see one of them sitting in the car, and he just looks out, and you just see on his face that it's ruined, everything, it's gone. And he like spots Darlene in the crowd, and you have Darlene with this slightly smug smile being like, yeah, I did it, I ruined you. And you think, yes, you did. So yeah, obviously White Rose super upset, and she and Philip Price decide to leave the building, and they don't get into the cars because like Philip Price stops, and once again just has this wonderful moment where he just realizes, I can do whatever I like it's over. What I wanted to do happened. I don't care what happens now. Like, White Rose is ruined. It's fantastic. And I like that he sort of has this short moment where he says, you know, for a moment I believed you when you said Angela is still alive. So I like that they give him this short moment of emotion and also doubt. I like that they give him that as a sort of reflection as to what happened early in the episode. And it takes a bit of a last dramatic turn, like something that wasn't unexpected, to be honest. Like, but I like kind of how drastic and abrupt it is in that moment of the episode, because you know you have the happy victorious music going on. You think, oh my god, yes, we did it, and Philip Price wants to leave, but White Rose so out of it at this point, grabs a gun and shoots Philip Price a couple of times in the back. And I like how they edited this. Oh, such a difficult phrase. And yeah, they cut the music and it's abruptly quiet. And I always like that when you have this abrupt realization of, okay, someone just got shot, something happened. Yeah, but like I said, it's nothing unexpected. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't even expect Philip Price to be alive for as long as he was during this episode. But yeah, I mean, it's not a great loss that he's dead. Like I said, I kind of expected it, and I like that they still have this sort of serious short moment of, oh, okay, that just happened. I like that they still got this short moment in there, and you know, they drag White Rose over into the car. I don't know what's gonna happen to her. Like, we see her at the end of the episode, like, she manages to catch a glimpse of Elliot before she gets pushed into the car, and the episode ends with her in her house, and she's getting all dressed up, like she's putting on makeup. She looks absolutely stunning, I have to say, like, beautiful. And you hear the police, the SWAT team or whatever, knocking at the door, and she's not doing anything. She's just sitting there waiting, and the episode ends, like, cuts to the credits, and we hear the SWAT team coming in, like, apparently shooting some people and doing some things. But I'm assuming that White Rose at least gets taken in by the police, probably maybe even killed, because it kind of implies that she wants to die in this moment, as she truly is, and who she actually is. And considering that she's lost everything at this point, and she was very desperate by the end of this episode, we might assume that she, like, tried to fight back, whatever, or, like, let herself get shot by the SWAT team. We don't know, we don't see it, but maybe she also just gets taken in into custody. So I don't think, like I already mentioned, I don't think that the primary focus of the last remaining episodes are going to be like the Deus Group or Dark Army, because that seems to be gone for now. Like, they lost all their money, White Rose has lost her power. Since we don't actually know if she's dead or not, or like just in custody, we don't know if she is going to come back. It could happen, since we also know that White Rose isn't without hacking skills herself. So And we might assume that some of the members in the Dark Army are still loyal to her, or to some of the other rich people in the Deus Group. Because we know that the Deus Group is gone, like the top 1% of the 1%, but we don't know if the Dark Army is completely gone. So we'll have to see if they make a comeback, if White Rose sort of has a revenge plan. I don't think so. At the moment, I honestly don't think so. I think that for now, that's done with. And like I said earlier, I think the primary focus is now going to be Elliott's psyche and finding out what is actually going on with him. Not just some stuff about his past, like I mentioned earlier, also his talk with Darlene, but yeah, finding out who this other one is, who this new, or not really new, but other personality is we have not actually seen yet, or at least we don't know who it actually is. So I think the primary focus is now going to be purely on Elliott, so like very character heavy stuff I think is going to happen, which I like. Like I like it when Mr. Robot is all about like Elliott and trying to finding out what's actually going on with him, and dives into his personality and his psyche. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they will do with that. And like we're far from done with this season. Like there's still a couple of episodes left, so I'm also, to a certain degree, clueless as to what else they are still going to do. Like, I have no idea. Like, sure, I said that they're probably going to dive into his psyche, but, I mean, what do I know how they want to do that story-wise? Because they can't do, like, 3 or 4, you know, character-based episodes now. Like, something still has to happen story-wise, and we'll see if they stick just to character stuff, or if, you know, Dark Army Deus Group stuff might still happen. We'll see, but yeah, for now, this is, you know, a bit of a catharsis and relief that this is, for now, done with. Like, what we've been working towards with Elliot and Darlene is done. Like, the Deus Group is destroyed. I like that at the end of the episode, Mr. Robot kind of reflects this monologue we hear Elliot doing in the very, very first episode when he says the top 1% of the 1% are gone. There's no one playing God anymore. So I like that we have this sort of retelling of the monologue. And it seems like we're done with this for now, and this is just very satisfying. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this week's episode of Mr. Robot. What are your thoughts on the episode? Put something down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So what are your thoughts on what happened this week? But what do you think will happen in the last couple of episodes? Do you think the Dark Army will come back, or we will focus on the other personality? So yeah, do tell me what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done it already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.